I remember when internet started, where you could have sites that would register every new additions, every new website, every new page in a website would be listed. So you could go every day on what's new on the internet. I remember that time.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's insane. Well, basically on the internet you will find me in PlayMaker forum. I've been very active on the forum many years. It started like around 10 years ago. At the very beginning of the PlayMaker forum, I was actually answering every question. It was just like...
That's crazy.
Yeah. I picked up PlayMaker very early when it started, and I was hooked up straight away. I was like, that's it, that's what's missing. I got a really good project for a client, and then I said PlayMaker is the right tool for that, so let me use PlayMaker for this. And at the same time, I wanted to give back to the community, and I really shift my focus on PlayMaker and really just went full on just helping everyone, answering everyone, and making examples, making custom actions.
Yeah, you're so prolific on that forum.
The stats are quite crazy, actually.
What are the stats? Can you pull that up? Can you able to pull up a number? I'm curious to know what that is.
Yeah,
it's probably
the stats.
Outrageous.
So I've got 15,000 posts.
Holy shit!
Since March 25th, 2011. So that's 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years, 15,000 posts, and that's in average 4 posts per day.
That's
in average.
That is fucking active. That is very active.
yeah. Like the first job I found was with someone called James Newton, which was a very like the guy on Adobe Director, which is an equivalent of Flash at the time. And it was very much what Unity was supposed to become at the time. It was like a proper 2D solutions with a 3D module. You could do exactly what you can do now with Unity, but it was like 15 years ago. He explained me how he got to that level of being like the best at his job. And basically, he was answering every questions on the forum just for fun because he had no job. He was like on a payroll. And so his days was about, I like this program, I'm going to learn it. And at the same time, I'm going to participate and give my knowledge to other people. And when he had a question, he didn't know the answer. But he would spend the day or whatever it needs to know the actual answer to that question and give an example and answer properly. So he ended up after a few months, or maybe a bit more than that, having some stats on the forum that were incredible. Every question was answered properly. It was not just try this, do that, just go find on the help. Yeah. And then Adobe came back to him and said, look, you know everything. And he was like, maybe. He didn't know everything, but he was spending the time to answer every question. So it looked like he knew everything.
Right.
And they offered him the deal to actually create the documentation for that tool. And the price for that, imagine Adobe asking you, like, you're going to write the documentation for Adobe Photoshop. He bought a house. He bought a house with this. Okay?
This is really funny because, like, this is essentially your story, right?
This is my full backstory of that. Is like, I took that to my heart and I said, okay, that's huge. I understand why that works.
Yeah. It's because it's what I'm saying is that, like, it is the same premise, right? Like, that is, you kind of had the same backstory. And then what's very funny to me is that, so it's that guy, it's you, and then it's me as well, in some regard. Like, you know, I filled a little pocket of a similar thing, you know, by doing the video stuff.
I think it's a bigger pocket than you imagine, than you realize, I think. It's critical.
Yeah, it is, you know, and that's a thing I see on a lot of the comments and videos and stuff. I knew there was lacking in the video tutorial space for PlayMaker.
To be fair, it was at the beginning. We found Alex found people that were doing good tutorials, but they just went off their own path and they didn't carry on with PlayMaker.
Right.
So we had a void for a few years where I tried to do videos, but I suck at it. It was just bad. Accent was just not. People were complaining, and who's this French guy that we don't understand? He's Mike.
Hi. This video will present the event proxy wizard and how it helps when you create animations on game objects to fire events from the animation itself.
People say like, is PlayMaker Chinese? Like I saw there's a video, the one I just released. Did you see the interview I just did with Alex? Okay, so I just put that out. I'll send it to you after. You should watch it. It was a lot of fun. But one of the comments in it is, my mind is blown because I thought the creator of PlayMaker was Chinese. You know, and it's because that Hutong symbol. Everybody, I can't tell you how many people say that to me. It's like, oh, is he Chinese?
Did Alex explain to you where it comes from?
Because he lived there for a while, didn't he?
Yeah, that means game, isn't it?
I think it means. Oh, does it? I thought it means like. I thought it was a word for like a type of back alley or something. So that symbol might not even mean Hutong.
No. No, I don't think so.
Okay. We're just as confused. Regardless of how involved we are with the company, we're also just as confused. Okay, so you had...
We'll keep a foggy environment around that. Maybe this is bad.
Right, but we like to keep the mystery. What happened when Alex first hit you up? Was it like he just reached out to you through a DM, or how did that happen?
Because I was very active, I was also giving feedback to Alex directly. I was like reporting bug reports. I was not just helping, answering questions on the forum, which I do with any program I use. Sure. With Unity, with anything, I always give feedback because this is the only way for the product to evolve. And so at one point he said, like, look, I mean, I see that you enjoy and that you are actually doing it the proper way. Maybe I pay you for it. And I was like, what?
Yeah, just comes out of nowhere. Yeah, that's exciting. I love that. I love that.
To me, that was like a kind of approval stamp that I was doing something right. Mm-hmm. Because at the time, it's not like now where games and development is mainstream. It was not mainstream 15 years ago. And it was not mainstream when I knew I wanted to go into that kind of environment, making multimedia and 3D and what is it that you do a proper job type of environment.
Sure.
And so for me to just by securing few clients via freelance work and then having the other side of the coin, it's like there is working for clients, delivering a product, but there's also working on the product itself. And
right.
Being able to do both is just like, it's very good. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Because you can be sure that if there is a problem, you know who to ask to solve the problem. You can, on the spot, find bugs and Alex would solve them and find solution or help me. Therefore, I would produce for clients something that was really always spot on. I could really be fast and solve issues instantly almost. And so that helped me on both sides. And so, yeah, Alex taking me on board with PlayMaker was a huge thing for me. And well, you know, Alex by now is also like, there is only very few people like that on Earth. Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
He's a very special individual. So I was like, you're the best boss ever.
Yeah. The patience and the respect for your autonomy, that's a part of what makes PlayMaker such a great tool, is like how much he listens. Not only as a creator of a tool he listens, but as a boss. Like,
well, you know what? Well. Let me put in perspective how it worked for many years. Before we might have had 3 calls in 10 years.
Like a phone call.
Well, like a Skype call.
Okay, sure.
3. It was like, Jean, like you answer forum. Yeah, can you do that? Yeah. Or maybe you can explore this. Yeah, okay. But he never got back and say like, look, Jean, you send me these invoice, but what did you really do, or what were you working on, or why? Never asked anything.
Yeah.
I was like complete trust, which you have to take seriously. There is a I don't know the word in English. The trust binding of trust. It's like this is more important than a written contract. It's right. Like when someone like that gives you that much trust, you need to live up to that expectation, I think.
Yeah.
So for me, I took that very seriously. I was really focused to provide as much as possible for what I was asking for. But it was never questioned anything. And On the listening side, I think what makes Alex like genius is that even though I proposed so many things, 99% he rejected. He said, no, that's not the vision I have. I understand you, I hear you, I understand why you would like PlayMaker to become like that, but that's not my vision. I'm 100% sure that if he listened to half of what I was requesting, PlayMaker would be dead by now.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it would be too complex, it would have just gone back to a frame of mind of conventional programming, and I didn't have the vision that Alex has, and still has. You remember the last call we had? It's like, yeah, he's one step ahead. That's obvious.
That's very, very interesting to hear. That I haven't quite thought of stuff like that before, but it is kind of like, I usually think of it in regards to art. You know, I usually think of it like you have the artist who will take in feedback and everything, but they have to have like some type of vision because it's like of some type of self-expression or something. But it sounds like, and I guess I've seen it in some ways through non-art related things, but this is a very good example of like how having a vision and sort of sticking to one individual's vision while still taking an input, but really kind of sticking to your guns, how that's also applicable to a tool, to something that is like a utility. And like that is very interesting, because like I do think of like parts of PlayMaker that people have requested features on, and I go like, yeah, I guess that would be cool, but like that doesn't sound like something that Alex would be working on. That doesn't sound like a PlayMaker thing, you know. And and there's probably some better solution that can be more in line with what PlayMaker is.
It takes courage to just stick to what you want. Many tools on the asset store did not add this vision of say, look, I'm here to make business, but I'm also here to take a product as far as I can. PlayMaker is literally the oldest asset on the asset store. I think it's number 300. The ID, the registration ID of the PlayMaker asset is like in the 300s. And it's been successfully the number one with 5 stars asset ever since. That's a confirmation that it fits the purpose. And it doesn't mean that everyone is happy about it, but it fits a purpose and it fits it very well.
Yeah.
It's like as a hardcore developer working on the next generation of like FPS for EA games, it's like, no, PlayMaker is not for you. For 99% of the rest of the developers that just want to be able to do things fast without having to just go like that every day.
What type of work were you doing back then?
That was technical work. I've always leaned into technical multimedia presentations and applications. I was never doing games. The first project I started saying PlayMaker is the right tool for it was on oil rigs, they need to work out all the machineries to screw tubes so that they can dig. And when they hit a different rock or they hit sand, they need to rewind everything, change the head, and then continue drilling.
Okay. That
process is very expensive. Maybe not millions, but it's in tens of thousands per hour. Easy. And it's very, very dangerous. People are dying every day on such a rig.
It's crazy.
It's mad. They have a rope, and if it catches fire or if the machinery breaks, they have to just jump on the rope. But there is no brakes, so they die on the way out. They take the rope because it's on fire, and they just and then crash on the ground there.
That's crazy.
It's just like, so companies say, okay, it's too much insurance. It's definitely bad for people. We don't want people to just have such works. So we're gonna make robots. They developed robots to take over the job of humans that were not good and too dangerous. And so they asked multimedia companies to make presentation. Let us show how the robot works so that we can sell that to manufacturers of those rigs.
Right.
It was a really complex simulation of a rig robot that handles the pipes. So you imagine at the bottom there are lots of sensors, lots of clamps, then there are the tubes, you have the racks, you have to organize the pipes in the racks, you have the robot that needs to know where he is, At one time, it can grab the pipe. At one time, it can lift the pipe, unscrew the pipe, store the pipes, repeat that until you find the heads, change the head, and then back and start drilling.
So yeah, was there? So does that mean that
complex.
there's a PlayMaker FSM out there where there's a state that says grab pipe, a state that says unscrew pipe, and
Yes.
stuff like that? That's crazy. That's really
And
crazy.
it's-
Do you still have it?
You straight away said why this is the right tool for this. Because I was faster than the team designing the robot, because the robot was in design stage. It was not final.
Right.
Because imagine you have a state saying, grab the pipe, but you enter that state only if all sensors meet the requirement.
Yeah.
So you understand that why am I not in this state? There is a bug. So you can go back with the PlayMaker flow, and so that's just like one of the sensor is wrongly positioned maybe. Oh yeah, because it's slightly too high. That took, every time I had issues like that, it was instantly giving me feedback on what was wrong. But if you imagine the same process with just scripting, you have to create the whole interface to give you feedback on where are the values, where are all the sensors, and so you have to spend time developing code that are not used for the final product. It's code just to be able to develop.
Yeah.
And that's a waste of time.
Yeah. Imagine if engineers making robots had access to a tool that was like PlayMaker, essentially for like engineering,
I was the team I was working on were just mind blown by the speed of my development. Not just by the speed, but the robustness. It's like, Jean, we have the client, he's changed everything, like the rack is now completely different. Any other situation, like imagine with pure object-oriented design or those kind of rigid structure, the development team would say, no, this is not what we signed up for. And I was like, yeah, it should be no problem. And the next day I did the changes because it was visual. I would rewire, but I would not really have to redevelop everything. What it taught me that you need to be very strict. It's like crazy strict on conventions. It's like if you start naming variables this way, you should really for a project stick to that.
Yeah.
Your event should always be very in plain English. Don't be scared to make a long event.
I love that. That is totally my jam.
The more describing your variable naming and your events naming is, the less problematic it will be in the long run, because it fits a very, very precise purpose, semantically speaking.
Yes.
So you basically write your code in plain English, and that's better than just event 1, event 2, or jump or grab. No. Grab what and when and why.
That's a big project. Like that is kind of a crazy gig to have, doing something for this huge company where it's like there's a lot at stake and there's a lot going on there. And you deciding to use PlayMaker for this, what is your background in programming and in coding, so they can kind of trust you as somebody who is a pro at this stuff, and you say, despite all of my professional knowledge with this, like, I still want to use PlayMaker?
I'm not sure if I should tell the truth. Because now this is recorded, so this goes down in history. No, I don't know. Okay.
We could chop it down if you feel if you're totally embarrassed. We'll cut it out.
First of all, I got the gig because I was helping people on the Unity forum. The thread is still available. But basically, someone asked a question about a physical joint. It could not properly handle robot physics. And I said, yeah, I know how to do that. I did an excavator like that. And you do this and you do that. And he was like, oh, can you make a sample? Yeah, sure. And I make a sample and it works. The next day, he calls me and says, Jean, I'm responsible for a huge project. And I'm struggling as a developer because I see that I don't have the skills to move forward and be successful with that project. Can you do that? And I was like, sure. I provided the proof of that you can trust me because I provided a working sample on something that he was struggling for probably months, weeks, with the pressure of the client saying, hey, you don't see anything now? Come on. And he was like, shit, I can't make it. And then I arrived and I just, out of the blue, give him a sample that works. And he was like, okay, this is the guy.
That's
If you are
good
capable, people will notice. You don't need a CV. You don't need a curriculum vitae telling you which school you did, which school you. No, that's for big companies that cannot afford a one-to-one relationship. I had a website that was showing everything about my work. I was sharing as much as possible, making my stuff public. The code that I was using to create those little applications, I was making it available. If you're looking for work, you should just give everything, because this is the only way for people that are looking for good developers to find the perfect match. It's like, oh, this guy is showing me what he's capable of, which is better than a curriculum vitae telling you he made that school with a good note or a good result. That means he must be good. Of course it's not. It doesn't mean shit.
Right.
It means he had the money to just be there for 3 years and be decent. That doesn't mean that he's going to be good at what you expect.
What percentage would you say of the projects that you take on use PlayMaker?
100%.
100%. That's bananas. That's crazy. That is really crazy.
And it's much faster, much quicker to develop. For those type of simple projects with regular 3D, regular interfaces, it's obviously much faster. However, the more the team grows, the more difficult it is to force everyone to work with PlayMaker.
That makes sense. And with any tool, right? Like if it's any tool that is outside of what is the norm or something. Like I made a video talking about Bolt and PlayMaker, and kind of when people ask themselves which they should use, specifically like PlayMaker, Bolt, and C#, right? Those are the kind of the main three things people talk about. Oh, which one should I use if I'm going to make games? And if your goal is to work at a studio, at a AAA studio and make somebody else's game, then maybe you want to go with Bolt or C# because Bolt will kind of be your training wheels to get you to learn C# if you need that. But you should probably just learn C#. And then even then, it's kind of like you'll probably not even really be using C#, but learning C# is still a good way of understanding sort of like how to use syntax in coding, and like understanding that these are all the types of things that you're going to be learning when you do eventually arrive at C++ or Python or whatever other common language is being used at AAA studios.
It's like if you really aim at working at AAA studios, then you definitely need to learn how to develop. I never learned how to develop. It came as a need because I enjoyed interacting with 3D. And I said, okay, if I want to go further, I need to start coding. I hated coding. I sucked at coding. I hated it. I think that you need to just bite the bullet and say, I need to program. I need to buy a book, and I need to learn about what it means to program. Not just C#, but the patterns, the frame of the minds, the algorithm, the frame of mind. It's a very specific frame of mind. You have to picture things in your mind that are way bigger or even intangible. You cannot explain that to your friend, what you have in your mind. It's something very specific. And how do I apply what I learned about moving a cube up and down? How does that translate into making a full game?
Right.
It doesn't. You need to apprehend patterns. You need to apprehend algorithms. How am I going to go through a list, changing the helmet of your character? You need to think about databases maybe, or at least a way to have a list of potential features to put on the head of your player. Then you have to have user experience. How I'm going to just show that on screen?
Right.
How am I going to make it interactive and intuitive so that the user is not like, how do I put another helmet on my guy? Not just writing lines of code.
Right.
How do I organize myself?
So what we're talking about then is more of like the logic, right? Of sort of like the theory, the sort of design fundamentals.
Yeah, the design fundamental. How do I create the core of my game, which I usually call my app controller. There is a controller that knows everything. But then there are other components that I want to be black boxed. These components, because I want to reuse them, I will make them as self-contained as possible. They are not aware of the application they are working on. They're not aware of the app controller. They are only aware of their tasks, which means I can reuse them. And then the app controller can make the binding between all those black boxes so that they work together to create a new feature on my game or on my application.
Yeah. It's kind of like the difference between like somebody who reads and memorizes the dictionary. Just because they did that doesn't mean they can go and then write the next great novel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So PlayMaker, Bold, and C# are just dictionaries, encyclopedia of meaning.
Even C++ and Python.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of
But
them. They're
that
just
doesn't mean that you
languages.
can make. That doesn't mean that you can speak it.
Right,
That doesn't mean that you can create a story.
right,
It's like if you know all the French words, doesn't mean that you can express yourself
right.
tonight.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of French words that I know, but being able to put them to use, like, I become useless. And I think also it's kind of like a lot to do with like learning tools too, because a lot of people think that they can just go through a course that teaches them all the abstractions, but then they're totally confused when it comes to how to make them applicable to the game that they're making.
At the time, Flash or HTML, where everybody in the industry was saying, that's very easy, anyone can pick it up. Yeah, anyone can pick up HTML. Not everyone can make up a good website.
Yeah, so
You know-
the proof is in all of the,
Yeah,
the glittery
the proof is in
sides of the...
The proof is in the early 20s and the 90s. It's
Right.
like, no, there are really failures. And
Yeah.
for good, I did some really bad websites.
Sure.
Because I was under the premise that I could, HTML, oh yeah, that's simple. And then you're just, oh no, that's not that simple.
Did you ever
And
mess
the
around with
thing
Flash?
is-
Did you ever do like ActionScript 2.0?
Yeah, I was sold on Flex. Flex was the next generation of Flash and Director combined together, what should have been what Unity and Unreal are now today. It's like Adobe was on the verge of making this happening, but they failed for corporate reason more than anything else.
I do want to switch gears, and I want to ask you about your history with playing games. Not making them, not diving in the code, not being a workhorse. I want to know about you having fun. I want to know about your experiences playing games. Like, what are some of the games that you grew up with that gave you a profound enough experience that said, I want to be involved in doing stuff like this? Like, what were some of the ones you can remember from far back?
It's two major steps. There are two distinct ways, two distinct paths to that. Of course, it was, we witnessed with my father. I was like 10 at the time, 12. My father was already in the computing field, or he was already toying with computers at work. And then the Amstrad CPC 464 came, and that was the first computer we had. So it was a computer that was loading data through a cassette. And so that was the first computer. The screen was monochrome, green and black.
Right.
He was buying some magazines about what's cool, what can be done with that. And in every month's release, at the middle of the magazine, there was 2 pages of code that was making a game, a simple game.
Yeah.
So my father would just buy that and he would just program the 1,000 lines,
Right.
and then we would have a game. And the first game, the very, very first game that was like, wow, shit, that's cool, was a Tron type, the bicycles running, leading a trail.
Oh, like Snake.
Like Snake, but it was Tron. So you have 2 bikes that starts on the opposite side, and you leave a permanent trail that none of you can touch. And it's the last one standing who wins.
Right.
So you have
So
to
it was a two-player game.
It was a 1-player, 2-player, or 4-player.
Oh,
So
shit. 4 players. That's good.
One player, you get dots, white dots, raining on the screen, and you
Okay.
cannot touch those dots.
Right.
It was very hard because each dot was so small. So it was. Then 2-player was the most fun because you could split the keyboards, and so 2-player was 4 players. There was too many hands on the keyboard to just make it fun.
That does sound crazy.
And so that was like, imagine like a screen, like 800 by 600, I think, pixels, and you get 1 pixel for there is nothing, just like scores, and then a pixel drawing a line, and you control the line. That was the first game I remember, and we played hours with my brother, hours. We bought games like Roland in Time, which was really like Mario.
What was it called?
And then Roland in Time.
Roland in Time? Oh, because these are
Roland
like
in
French
Time.
releases, huh?
And I was like, that was mad because it was already very interacting. It started to have colors. So we moved to Atari.
Okay.
It was another computer that was much more powerful. So we had we started to have games with lots of color musics, and it was really nice. Then we had Amiga. Amiga was also a very popular computer that was really powerful. We could start making music, video editing, video effects. My brother was doing like fancy psychedelic videos with that, with like effects curling around and stuff. That was like, and my father was doing music as well. We had like some tools to make music. So MIDI was like also emerging. So we could plug like some MIDI keyboards and we could make sounds and stuff like that. That was very interactive. We never had consoles like Mega Drive, the Sega Mega Drive and Nintendo. We never had that. My parents were against, like, you have a computer, you can do much more than with this, which can only do games. So what's the point?
Right.
So we would go to our neighbors and play there.
Yeah, that's the same story with everybody. It's like always going to the neighbor kid's house to play the game. What did you play? Yeah, what were some of the ones that you would go play at your neighbor's friend?
Pong. Pong. It's like literally two whiteboards and a ball. White. Pong. Ping, ping. That's it. Hours. Played hours.
Yeah.
I think Tetris came about that time as well. And Flashback was amazing. I was amazed by it. I've lost a full summer. My mom was crazy. I've got a story on that. I was trying to finish the game. The game was on Atari and it had 18 floppy disks. So you would load.
Christ.
Yeah.
18. Would you have to load them consecutively, or was it like you finish one and then you put in the next one and then?
You had to. I think. But you had to load few to load the core of the game, and then depending on where you were, they were asking, please insert this number 10, please insert this number.
Right.
And it half an hour.
Oh God.
And then you would play on Amstrad. When I was loading Roland in time, we would put the tape, switch the tape, press play to actually load the game, and it was doing. We would go eat, and then when we finished it, maybe the game was already loaded.
Right. You know what that kind of sounds like? It just kind of sounds like installing the new update on your PS5 or your Xbox or whatever, yeah.
I was drinking a lot of milk and chocolate, so it was really hot summer, and I was under the roof, so it was very hot. And so I was making fresh milk and chocolate every time I wanted to play. And one time I left my chocolate bottle on the sun for like the full day. So I came back the next day and I started playing again, and I was in the same environment, and I thought that my milk was fresh.
No.
And I took a big sip because I was like, yeah, and it was like, it was like green and mold, like proper.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, man. Oh. And so I ran to the toilet, spit it out, and I was
disgusting.
Like, that's when I realized that, no, you should not play like that.
Epic
it's
gamer
like,
moment.
Nothing new when you see kids like completely sucked up with phones. We were just like that.
Right. It sounds like it. It's like been going on since however long. What about as an adult? Like, what about games as an adult?
Games as an adult, I've never played.
Get the fuck out of it. I mean, what, like one, nothing.
One. Okay, fair enough, you're right. I was playing games, but I was never playing games like one would expect. Like, I would never open my computer and play a game.
Sure. No chocolate milk moments. You were never like...
No, that was gone.
Casually.
I was playing game to socialize. It's like with my friends, we were just gathering around, and one of them had a PlayStation, the first one, and we had Soul Edge. Soul Edge was literally, in my opinion, the best fight games. You would fight much better than any others.
Really? Okay.
It had so much movement and freedom, and we would play every weekend. We would stay until 6 o'clock in the morning, and we would play up to a point where he had ulcers of the nerves.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was
crazy. Jesus.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's like, Jean, I can't play anymore because I've got ulcers, I've got holes in my stomach so much I worry about the games.
Yeah, holy shit.
We would play. I mean, the girlfriends were just annoyed. It's like, they were just like, 6 o'clock in the morning, you've played since 11.
Right.
11 o'clock, where everybody would just, go home until 6 o'clock without interruption. Maybe a tea or water. and we would play again and again and again and again and again and again every weekend.
Right.
That was bad. That was bad. So when I say I didn't play game, that's really so not true.
Right.
Now people are playing Call of Duty or those games. No, I never played those games. Never.
What was the last game you have played?
The last game I played was when I met at Unite with Alex. I was traveling with Alex at some of the Unite a few years ago.
Yeah.
We met the company that did the game, the first game that was completely black and white on Xbox.
Was the story of Inside? Limbo.
Limbo! Oh, yes. You know games. And I met with some of the teams around Limbo. I met with the actual QA, the assurance quality of Limbo. He was playing the games, I think, if I recall properly, maybe 10 times a day.
It's crazy.
And I did play that game. The mood of the game was really nice. So that's the last game I played.
That was a while ago. That was a few years ago. Limbo's, yeah.
I find my thirst of interactivity, because you play game because you like interactivity. Or I don't need a game to be told a story. I don't need that. Working with Unity every day, all day. I don't need to play a game after that. I've played games all day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Plus, if you spend the whole day on the computer, if it's to go back home and just stare again at the screen, it's not good. I cannot do that.
Yeah.
If I had a job, like a physical job, not requiring to be in front of the computer, I would definitely play games more. But because I'm in front of the computer every day, all day, I know I don't want to be again at home looking at the screen.
Right. Did you ever have you ever cried playing a game? Has a game ever brought you to tears? No.
I was not emotionally bounded to games. No. When you play all night until 6 o'clock, of course, if you lose at 6 o'clock, you're in an emotional mess. But never cried. No.
Right. Never like even the story, like a sad. Like Alex told me about a game that he played where one of the characters dies, and he was very emotionally moved by it.
Maybe because I've never played those games. Because I'm emotionally quite sensitive. I can cry when I listen to music. And I know chords. That if I put them chords now, I will cry. I know which one makes me cry.
Yeah.
My son is like that. He's listening to music and he starts crying. And I was like, what's happening? I don't know. It's music. Like, wow, okay, cool.
Right.
That means that you are open emotionally to that. Because, of course, music is very powerful. But for games, no. Maybe because I didn't play that much.
It does, it is kind of a weird topic because I think, with film, with literature, with music, with many of the arts, they've already kind of put their flag in the ground. They said that we have sort of achieved this, and this is a common thing that people know. And yeah, games have made people cry. They've made me cry, and even if they've made people cry, though, I think it's not as common. Video games as a medium is still young, and
Do you mean cry because of the story? Do you mean crying because you failed to pass a level?
No, I mostly mean like the game wanted you to cry, right? So like.
Well, I never played such a game, so I cannot say I would not react that way, because if I watch a movie, even the cheesiest movie will make me cry when they want me to cry.
Same here. Yeah. There are people out there that are trying to make emotional experiences, but it's not the norm,
Is it because it's lacking still the realisms? When you watch a movie, you are.
I don't think the realism part, because the game I cried on.
Cry.
Oh, go ahead.
You don't cry because two robots. Well, actually, it's not even true.
Because the one that Alex cried to, he said it was like a robot that passed away. And then for me,
emotionally to robots, of course. It's. I think games still lack them. You cry because you see the emotion of the actor. You believe the actor that is acting in front of you.
It's easier. It's easier for them.
Maybe because he's human, or maybe because the film is making it easier to be immersed.
Yes.
Emotionally.
Yes. Exactly.
When you look at a game made in 3D, sometimes you hardly make the difference because between a real life picture and in-game picture, but they are not really for the stories. They are just GTA. The car looks good, as if it was a real one, but character-wise, it's only starting now. It's like 3D movies now can capture emotional facial expression much better than 10 years ago. Now it's difficult on a picture to say if it's real or not. But still, when it starts moving, your brain says, no, this is fake. As much as we want to acknowledge that it's amazing what we can fake, your brain is still able to make the difference and tells you, no, this is fake. But it could be because I never played those games that are supposed to make you cry. I played car games, fight games, you don't cry with them. I played recently Mortal Kombat. I played twice. I played 10 minutes total.
Yeah.
Man, this is violent. Wow. I played Soul Edge, like slicing each other for 8 hours straight. You need to really go through the skull and see the eyes popping out. To get to the. Why?
I have to step in and defend that at least, because
no, but let me finish the argument first.
Okay.
If I can only see that they are doing this to provoke emotional responses, but the emotional responses is really like watching a horror movie. It's just visceral.
Yeah.
And so, if they are ready for Mortal Kombat to go that far into shocking you, I think crying is crying is already past. Or crying is just why cry when you can be shocked by the skull going for like 10 times. And I think crying when the guys decide, okay, what kind of emotion do we want to pass to the game? We want the guy to just vomit out of just shock. Okay, crying is not on the list.
Right. I think you're right. No, I agree. There's a few small select groups of people or studios out there that do value sort of like strong emotional experiences that aren't just visceral.
Studios that want to make art, not big studios that want to make money.
Right. Well, I think they're kind of like, I haven't played The Last of Us, but I hear that The Last of Us is a bridge between those things, where it's like, on one hand, it's very disgusting and disturbing and go like, but also like, on the other hand, it apparently has a very compelling story with good facial capture, and people become very emotional for the drama of it as well. I haven't played it, but the thing that bothers me, and this is something I talked about with Alex, is that I'm not interested in games that have a bunch of cinematics. I'm not even playing the game. It's like, now I'm just watching a movie. Or, games that just like, they put a bunch of text on screen, and it's just like, I want to play the game. And the games that I'm interested in, and I wish I can have more experiences like this for, is like, I want to have an emotional experience because of a choice I made. The first time I ever really cried during a game as an adult and just like bawled my eyes out, and it was a really strong experience. Yeah, it was intense. Was Papers, Please. Have you heard of this game, Papers, Please? Yeah. So Papers, Please is a game where you play as an immigrations officer at a border, right? And so it's in the 1980s it's some Slavic Eastern European country. And what you're doing is it's your job to either accept or deny people into the country. You work a day, and depending on how many people you process is how much money you get. And then you go home at the end of the day, and you can either, you can feed your family, buy them medicine, keep the heater on, and pay rent. And so you get to decide what winning is. Now, when I was playing that game, it comes to a part, and this is spoiler alert, but it gets to a part in the game where there is somebody who's coming in, and they come to you and they say, here's all my papers, everything's in order. I can't wait to get to your glorious country because I'm escaping oppression. It is terrible where I come from. I need to leave because I'll die out there, basically. Yeah. I can't wait. And my wife is right behind me. And he checks out, his papers are everything cool, and he goes through. His wife steps up, and the first thing that happens whenever somebody steps up is they give you their papers. So you can see, and you always have your documents to say, what do they need today, or what's, the political climate, what's required. She gives you the papers, and you realize she's missing one of the documents. And that moment, she doesn't need to say anything. She, just the moment the papers slide in, and I realize that I can't let her through, because if I could let her through, right? I could choose to, But if I do, I get docked, and I don't get my paycheck, you know, and then my family suffers, you know. And when that moment happened, it was the moment the papers slid in, and like I just started crying my eyes out. And that was a moment in a game that made me realize, like, okay, there's a way to do this where you don't need cutscenes, you don't need a bunch of text, and you could put it into the playing of it, where I'm actually in control and making choices.
Yeah.
That is so rare. Because people just want, you know, like...
I would just, no. Because actually, you know, where I live, we had to take refugees, for real.
Right.
Ukrainian refugees. And I don't need to play a game to understand what's going on here and to get emotional about this.
Sure.
The girl 14 knew every sounds of the bombs when they fall. They could tell you which bomb it is by the sound it makes when it falls.
Right.
And the mom, when they left after that, the mom, when she was going to the market to get food, the sniper was playing with her on the way.
It's terrible.
So yeah, it's like that's good. That's good that they make games like that, because sometimes we get really into our own bubble and we don't understand that this shit actually happens, and it happened before and it's happening now.
Right.
And I was listening to a podcast, Lex Friedman podcast, and they were saying, "What is a heroism?" And heroism is just the situation. You cried because you knew that was a moment of deep human interaction. What am I doing here? And the guy said the heroic moments are in those moments when you let the woman go. Mm-hmm. You let the woman pass, right. And you try to cheat the system. You don't try to fight against the system just being out loud and say, look how brave I am. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying that the system is corrupted. No, it's like you do your job because you have to feed your family. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, when there is a loophole, you use it to help others.
Right.
And that's small bite size of heroism that counts in the end. Because you cannot fight a system that is bigger than you just by raising your hand. And it doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
you fight it with every decision you make. And if you can just try to find your way, fuck. Can you imagine that in the Second World War where people had to make those choices? I feed my family or I just don't feed my family.
Right. You know about these things. You kind of live closer to these problems happening. And yeah, to some degree, I also have, you know, when I was living in Los Angeles, being close to the border, the relationship between the United States and Mexico, some degree. But like, I am more often than not pretty sheltered from those problems. And so it is really sort of interesting when any type of medium, but yeah, this game, it can bring the awareness. And I'm so much more cognizant of these type of things after I played that game, you know. Your involvement in games, you know, the choices you get to make. That's the special sauce of games, right? With film, it's like time. Right? In cinema, you kind of have the editing, the order in which you get to show images and sounds, and that's a very manipulative medium. It's a very powerful medium. Music is just, it plays on the abstraction of things. We don't know why certain frequencies make our whatever. And then literature, same thing, poetry with words. But with games, yeah, like I think that its special thing is like letting you make choices, because choices are like, yeah, that could be
you appropriate. You likely, I think you got a good point here. You will likely respond emotionally in a much deeper and a much authentic way because you've made those choices. So you appropriate the consequences of what you did.
That is
when you watch a movie, you are not responsible for anything that happened in the movie. Right. Someone gets shot and it's not nice and it wasn't his fault. I'm just like, yeah, it's sad. Okay, I'll have a tear, but not my fault. However, in your case, shit, it's going to be my fault.
Last thing I want to go over is, I guess, just what do you want to say? If you do you have anything to say to the community, to the PlayMaker community? Say anything that you think.
I would like to say hello, because a lot of people, you know, I've met over the years and I've never seen face to face. So hello, everyone.
That is perfect. So everybody, this is Jean Fabre, right? Am I saying that right? Do I put the right?
Yeah, well done.
Thank you. I've been practicing a little bit here.
Yeah.
By the way, for anybody who doesn't know, it's like, Jean, he grew up here.
Oh yeah, I grew up in France, but I left in England when I was 23 or 24.
Right. So you spent a good chunk of your life here.
Oh yeah. It's only recently, only the last 20 years I moved.
Right. Sometimes I forget behind your impeccable English accent.
I've lost some. My accent is worse because before I was talking a lot more than now. Now I talk in French even for work, so my accent is bad now.
No, it's great. You're coming in loud and clear. Somebody in one of the Discords mentioned your sign off in the forum posts is bye.
Yeah, always.
Yeah. And that is, I remember even way back when I first started going to the forums, I'm like, who's this guy who's just saying bye? It's a very weird thing to just be like, bye, something,
I've got a story
bye.
on that.
Huh?
I've got a story on that.
Really?
I removed my account I was active on Stack Overflow as well. Mm-hmm. And I was always saying bye, Jean. Mm-hmm. And some moderator came and said, no, strike my bye and Jean and say, no, we're not having greetings. And I reverted it and I said, no, when I communicate with someone, I say hello, I say, hi, bonjour, something, I greet, and then I say bye.
Au revoir.
That's I'm not compromising on that.
Right.
And then a few months later, he strikes again the same post. And I said, look, guy, I know you have nothing to do, all day long, you have nothing to do else just to watch me when I say bye, but I'm not having that. You keep my vibe. And I was really, and he had to resort to a higher moderation guy that said, no, this is definite. You are not allowed to say bye.
Oh my God.
No, that's not, that's too much space on screen. And I was like, fuck off.
Yeah.
It's like you let me greet people when I answer to their questions, or I'm not participating to your site anymore.
Yeah.
And say, you can just delete your account. And I deleted my account.
That is hysterical. I can't believe you have a story for that. That is so funny.
There are certain things that's maybe the message I would want for the PlayMaker community. Be nice with each other. When I saw threads starting to get heated, I was always contacting the guys. Look, this is not the place. Everyone wants to help. You have to understand that sometimes people are under pressure because they are failing to do something and they need a solution quick. Just understand. And you don't know your audience. It could be 14, could be 80. So you should be very careful because on forums, you don't know who you're talking to. Right. So always be nice.
Earlier when you're like, oh, what would I say to the community? I would say hello. And then that made me think of the bye thing. So if you can give us a bye, so people have the video version, and then I'll end it. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
Bye.
Okay, that's it. Yeah.